Nation has had this aura around hip-hop culture for the past decade. But to start this, let's backtrack. Let's go back to December 2018, just 7, almost 8 months ago. I wrote an article titled Why Roc Nation May Move On from Its Record Label. And this was the first piece I have written in depth about Roc Nation. I talked about what I saw as an emerging trend. Roc Nation Sports is a much newer arm of the organization relative to the music label. However, there were almost twice as many athletes signed to Roc Nation as there were artists. And more of the deals and the momentum that we saw were trending in the direction of sports and other aspects of entertainment. And it seemed logical for that to happen. Record labels have fallen out of the mainstream popularity. Everyone wants to own their masters. Everyone wants to be in control of their careers. When artists are getting constant reminders of how devilish and evil record label deals are, it can put them at a disadvantage. When you couple that with the fact that Roc Nation's roster of signed artists were long into their careers, many of them in their 40s, some in their 50s, it was starting to make less and less sense for this record label to continue. After I wrote that article, I heard through the grapevine that a few people at Roc Nation were starting to get a little nervous about needing to look for jobs or finding other employment. Obviously, my goal is not to put anyone on watch, but the writing was on the wall. In January, Roc Nation parted ways with the president of Roc Nation Management. In March, they fired the president of the record label. And then in May, they fired 4 different executives. All of these people, A, came from high leadership positions at other major traditional record labels, and B, were all hired within the past 18 months. It makes sense why Roc Nation would want to have experienced talent come in. If you have a lot of older artists, you're going to want to match them with talent that understands and has been around the block just as much as they have. But this can cause some challenges internally. If you're only putting people in leadership positions that are external, what does that mean for the people who have been grinding, rising up the ranks, that were looking after those positions? It actually reminds me of one of the first jobs that I had coming out of college. I worked for one of the largest insurance companies in the country, and we came through a management development program. And every one of us were so destined. We're like, oh, I'm going to become the VP of this domain someday. I'm going to rise up the ranks. We all know our shit. But instead of promoting us, the department we were in was more likely than not to go hire MBAs from the top schools to come in fresh from business school. So that caused a lot of resentment until there was a guy that was a couple years older than us. He actually went to the same college as me, and he got promoted to one of those VP positions, and we all collectively called him the People's Champ because we thought that he was the savior, the guy that was gonna put us all on. Those are the type of things that stick with people. People want to feel like they are being taken care of. And in a lot of ways, that speaks to the ethos of Roc Nation. Jay-Z has brought his friends with him along the way and put them in positions to thrive. And if you look at Roc Nation's roster, you see that now. Him and Jay Brown have been business associates for years. Him and Desiree Perez have been business associates for years. Him and Ty Ty have been kicking it since they were kids. These are the type of things that resonate with people, and why athletes are choosing Roc Nation as opposed to signing up with Rich Kleiman or whoever other agent. Artists want to partner with Roc Nation as opposed to just going and getting a deal at Warner or whoever other traditional major label. If Roc Nation loses sight of these aspects, then what is there to hold on to? That's why it's dope that Roc Nation's label is now being led by 2 people that are homegrown. One of those co-presidents was an intern for Rockefeller Records 20 years ago. And the other person has been with Roc Nation for 9 years. You make these types of hires, people feel like they are inspired. However, you still need to have a healthy number of external hires to bring in the talent you need. It's a balance that every organization needs to hit. It was clear that Roc Nation went too far in the other direction. But the one thing that doesn't sit well is the concept of having co-presidents. Why does this record label need to have two presidents? I know a number of organizations have co-CEOs, and their rationale is that there are so many roles and responsibilities, and sometimes it's easier to split those amongst people. You look at Salesforce, you look at Oracle. I remember when I was in business school, we had one of the co-CEOs of Whole Foods that came through, and a lot of the conversation was about why he chose to go that route. I obviously understand, but I don't think it's the most sound way to go about this. With co-leadership, there's often a lack of delineation. We've yet to see anything in the media that outlines what the roles and responsibilities are, so that's one thing I will stay in tune for. 2, even when you try to separate the two of those, the two parts are never equal. One person often becomes the de facto because they end up having a role and responsibility that encompasses a much larger scope than everyone else. There are now 3 distinct arms when it comes to artist talent. You have Roc Nation itself, if you want to include the artist label side and the management side. You have Dream Chasers, and you also have Equity Distribution. It's an independent arm that is under the Roc Nation umbrella. It is meant to be a competitor to a United Masters or a STEM or many of the other services that are out there. Let's start with Roc Nation. They are already focused on the established, mature acts that have been in the game for a while. The second segment should be Dream Chasers. Meek Mill can focus on the up-and-coming artists that are coming that aren't quite at that Roc Nation stage, but these are clearly people that have some talent, have some grooming, that are ready to be signed to a record label. And then third, you have Equity Distribution. So this is definitely the long tail of indie artists who either A, are just coming up and want a way to get their feet wet in hip-hop without signing away their masters for the next 10, 15 years or signing a 360 deal, or additionally want to stay independent but want the benefits that could happen partnering with a Roc Nation umbrella company, and who knows, maybe they graduate or move on to working with Dream Chasers or working directly with Roc Nation. That segmented approach is definitely more sound than what I saw on Twitter just yesterday. Meek Mill tweeted out, wait, hold up, let me get the exact tweet for you. Meek said, "Who the hottest artist in your city you think fit to sign with Roc Nation? #Ask Meek." I throw the question back at him. Give us a little bit of insight into what you're looking for. Obviously, I think it makes perfect sense for Meek Mill to look further upstream, and further upstream does not mean posting it to Twitter and then having your DMs flooded with a bunch of SoundCloud rappers and whoever else trying to get put on. Roc Nation has a unique opportunity with all the mergers and all the acquisitions. How do you know the difference between what a Capitol Records artist should be versus an Interscope artist versus an Epic? Roc Nation has an opportunity to be that intentional. They're making steps to move in that right direction, but we'll see if it happens. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. If you did, the best thing you can do is share this with a friend. Word of mouth is still the best way to grow. Please go to trapital.co. That's Trapital, TRAPITAL.co. I write one article a week that's often tied to this podcast. I also have additional content during the week for our paid members. Go there, check out the content, learn more. Stay tuned, y'all.